Your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching, yes, the Yankees Entertainment and Sports Network.
All I wanted people to look at when I played was the game. When you think of me on the field.
He might be the most revered athlete in New York history. He was the one shining light in a dark tunnel.
He just looked so right out there in the uniform and dirty with the eye black on.
He never gave up. Donnie represents the way baseball should be played.
Mattingly is unbelievable.
I just wanted him to be in the playoffs just once.
Oh, hang on to the roof!
When you think of number 23, certain images immediately come to mind. Eye black, a 5 o'clock shadow, and of course, outstanding plays at first base. He was a New York icon, a man forever destined to become a Yankees legend. Hi, I'm John Sterling for the Yes Network, and this is Yankeeography. The truth of the matter is, it didn't really happen that way. Mattingly was too slow, and at just under 6 feet, certainly too small to play first base. But that didn't deter Donnie baseball. Everything he achieved came through hard work, determination, and the kind of effort Yankees fans couldn't help but love. The year was 1981, and the Yankees were 2 games away from winning their 3rd World Series crown in the last 5 years. But the rival Los Angeles Dodgers won the next 4 games, capturing the championship and ending the Yankees' reign. Little did the Yankees know that their most dominant player of the next decade would arrive in mid-September of the next season wearing number 46, Donald Arthur Mattingly.
I remember driving to New York and walking through the tunnel the first time. It was just really one of the most exciting moments to me of my whole career was being called up the first time, getting to the big leagues.
Mattingly's journey began as a 19th round pick in the 1979 draft, when he was chosen behind 489 other players.
He was not highly touted. He came up through the system, didn't have maybe the most talent in the world. He did, but he wasn't touted as one of these great talents that you just know is going to make it.
They said he couldn't play first base, and they said, well, he can't pull the ball. No, he don't have enough pop to do it. I said, my gosh, he's only 18 or 19 years old. He'll learn to pull when he sees the stadium.
His tireless work ethic as a pure hitter moved him rapidly through the minors, but finding a spot in the Yankees lineup wasn't easy.
He had to really fight to get to New York. I don't think people realized that. I mean, there was kind of a backlog at first base.
Bonesy was there, Steve Balboni, Roy Smalley, King Griffey. It seemed like there was like 7 different guys with first baseman gloves, so I pretty much consider myself an outfielder at that point.
Fly ball into right field. Mattingly is after it in the corner. He's got it.
The whole thing for me was I wanted to get to the plate somehow. If it had to be in right, if it had to be in left, if it was whatever. Any way to get myself in the lineup to show what I could do.
And as a base hit, that'll score 2.
After platooning in '83, he was more determined than ever.
I just came off of winter ball in '83 and had won a bat title and wanted to come back and fight for a job. I feel like I want to play every day now. First day camp, Yogi tells me I'm going to be the swing man, which to me meant I wasn't going to play every day. And I wanted to let him know. And that's exactly what I told him. I said, if you get me in there, you're not going to be able to get me out.
Popped up. That might be trouble with the infield in. Mattingly makes a play. They're going to try to score. They run from third, and he is out of home.
Though he cut his number in half to 23, Don seemed to double his productivity, playing stellar defense and suddenly hitting for power.
That ball is out of here. Can you imagine that? He is strong.
Early in the '84 season, he was named the starting first baseman.
He learned how to pull. Then he got strong, ran a lot of good first basemen out of here, if you remember. We had a lot of first basemen.
I hope I'm at first all the time. I think that's the best place for me. I like making good plays and doing anything I can over there.
Once he got a chance to play at first base, you knew he belonged. I mean, he exuded that type of confidence, and it was just a matter of time of him getting in the lineup and showing what he can do.
Holy cow! 3-run home!
He'd never hit more than 10 home runs in a season until he belted 23 in 1984. But his most impressive stat was his batting average.
He wasn't just getting his hits, he was starting to dominate even great pitchers, and once he took off, he was phenomenal.
Mattingly drives it!
By early summer, Don's average hovered near 350. But teammate Dave Winfield also wielded a hot bat, and together they staged an epic New York City battle for the AL batting crown.
It was just two guys who were diligent at their trade. That's what attracted everybody to the stadium, because we were out of it. The team was out of it, so people just really enjoyed classic, good hitting and the competition on the same team.
A long triple for Winfield.
That baby's gone! Don Mattingly.
Unbelievable.
It was great intensity. To see the concentration, to sit back and watch both guys get locked in from the minute they're in the dugout to when they go onto the on-deck circle and in the batter's box was incredible.
Don and Dave stayed neck and neck in a race that caught fire with the New York media.
Dave established himself as a superstar in the league, and naturally I think a lot of people are for the underdog. They're for that young kid, ain't making no money yet. So it was a lot easier on me than I think it was on Dave, a lot more pressure on him.
On the last day of the season at Yankee Stadium, Mattingly trailed by 2 points, but the race wasn't over. In his last at-bat, Don would get the last word.
That's got to be a base hit, and he wins the batting crown.
You can only imagine, I was 23 years old, just, trying to get to the big leagues, finally getting to play every day, and then, to be fighting for a batting title. I was just floating,
In just his first full season, Mattingly became the first Yankee to win the batting title since Mickey Mantle in 1956. His .343 average was the highest for any Yankee left-hand hitter since Lou Gehrig. He also earned the first of his 9 career Gold Gloves. The Bronx Bombers had their new first baseman, and New York City had a new star. Coming up,
I try to play to the best of my ability, and if I can do that, I know I'm going to be happy, and I think everybody else will be too.
As Don Mattingly entered the 1985 season, the reigning American League batting champion now faced some lofty expectations.
I set high standards for myself, what things I want to do. I try to play to the best of my ability, and if I can do that, I know I'm going to be happy, and I think everybody else will be too.
This hit way back in right field.
And he would deliver, earning the nickname the Hitman.
He was a technician at the plate. He absolutely knew exactly what he was wanting to do with the pitch.
He had so much confidence. He could hit with strikes on him. He wasn't worried about it.
You could never get in a pattern with Donnie. He'd shoot you to left and pull you to right. And as a pitcher, that's difficult to deal with.
Mattingly led the team in 5 of 8 offensive categories. But more importantly, he led the Yankees into a pennant race.
The only way he was going to get out is if you threw the ball in the dirt 5 feet in front of home plate where he couldn't reach it. Otherwise, he was going to put the bat on and get a hit.
You're not really worrying about yourself. You're just worrying about winning games and going out and what can I do tonight to help this team win.
The Hitman once again comes through.
So you play in the context of each game, and all of a sudden, you got a monster year in your hands.
Don's monster year included driving in 145 runs, the most by a Yankee since Joe DiMaggio. But it was not enough to overcome the Toronto Blue Jays, who would hold on and win the division by 2 games. Mattingly's efforts were rewarded a few weeks later when he was named the American League MVP.
The way he handled it was about as pro as you could get. I mean, you get plenty of guys out there willing to chirp and talk about how good they are. I mean, Donnie was one of the most modest, successful players that I've ever seen in my life.
It was a great feeling to have that kind of success and have that kind of year, but it's kind of bittersweet, really. At that point, because we're not in the playoffs. Kansas City wins the World Series. We thump Kansas City all year long. And for them to end up winning it, it's like, that year slipped by, to win 98 games. I think we had the second best record in baseball and don't get in.
The Yankees were again contenders in 1986. And once again, Mattingly led the way at the plate and in the field.
Nobody could play defense better than him at first base. He was the best first baseman defensively that you ever want to see.
Perfect timing by Don Mattingly.
Sometimes it seemed like he could do anything.
Don Mattingly played third base in one ball game out in Seattle. First ball hit to him, he turned to at second base. So Donnie not only could play first, he could also play third. Little known fact.
Mattingly finished 86 with a career-high 352. On the last day of the season, he was within reach of winning a second career batting title. This time he was battling Boston's Wade Boggs, who was out with an injury. It was a daunting task, though, as Don was several points behind Boggs, 357.
I can recall getting in the cab, riding to the ballpark with him in Boston, and Donnie said it isn't over yet.
I remember the last day I had to go 6 for 6, and I hit a bomb the first at bat, so that was kind of cool, you know.
You could just see in his eyes that he was just locked in. Wade Boggs had gone up in the clubhouse and started getting loose because he knew Donnie was going to do it too.
I'm just having fun, you know, and I'm swinging the bat good and just letting it fly.
Dives this one into left center field, all the way to the wall. It's a double for Mattingly.
His two-hit performance fell short, but was a gutsy effort that even the Boston fans had to applaud.
It didn't quite fall in for him, but it wasn't because he didn't hit the ball in the barrel of the bat, I can tell you that.
In the MVP voting, Don was runner-up to another Boston star, Roger Clemens. But in a major media poll, Mattingly was voted the best player in the game.
Well, other people might have been advertised as the next great thing, and Mattingly was the next great thing. He was everything that you would think if you went to central casting for a New York Yankee great player to be.
Coming up next.
We would send him around the corner, and then we'd take off the other way, but somehow or another, Donnie would always find out where we were, and he'd come join the game.
Welcome back to Yankeeography. In his short career in New York, Don Mattingly already owned a batting title and the MVP award. Suddenly, the humble hero was a big city star.
I love playing in New York. I like the big city, the excitement of all that, but I always liked coming home.
Home is Evansville, Indiana, where Don grew up the youngest of 5, with 3 older brothers who excelled at sports. Jerry, the oldest, died in a construction accident at age 23. That left Randy and Michael to nurture young Donnie.
You always searching for enough players, and of course Donnie, being younger, was one of the last ones picked, but he was always there and available and wanting to play all the time.
There were some times that we would sneak away, send him somewhere, then we'd go to the ball game and play. But he had a way of always showing back up.
Wherever he's at, he had a ball in his hand. Anything that was connected with a ball, that's what he liked to do.
There's nothing you could get them at Christmas if it didn't have a ball or a bat, something like that. They played on this side here, side of the house here, and the backyard all the time.
This little grass strip, we played knee football. They'd be underneath and I had to run through there. And like that wasn't a very good game for me. This is our hot box game over here. 2 guys play pitch and catch. You had to try to get from one base to the other without the guy tagging you.
When he'd see his older brothers playing, well, he'd pick up a glove. The only glove he had, the right hand. Well, when he got to be about 7, he picked up a ball with his left hand and threw it better than his right hand. That's when we determined he's really left-handed.
I think about now being a dad, hear how many times that wiffle ball hit that metal of the house. I wonder what my mom and dad were thinking. When people ask, well, how come your brother is an opposite field hitter? You know, we all knew why. So the only way for me to hit homers was right out there. So I had left-handed, I hit everything like that way. So that's why I think I learned to hit the ball the other way, playing right here.
Don was a 3-sport star in high school. He was a point guard and a quarterback, but one sport seemed to draw him in the most.
Baseball found me more than me. Like, I want to be a baseball player. Playing in American Legion, there was a guy over in Owensboro. He was like the Reds' #1 pick that year, and he was going to get signed the next day. I go over as a freshman, I get 2 doubles off this guy. From that point on, I started getting letters from like scouts and stuff, and I'm thinking, I must do this better than the other, you know?
Don was the driving force on his high school team, leading Memorial to 59 straight wins, including the Indiana State Championship in his junior year. but he never let success go to his head.
You could go to school and be the best one on your team, or you could be the best one in your whole league in baseball. But when you come home, you was still fourth best.
And I think that's why Don's humble. He was just like all the rest of us.
Like many boys growing up in Indiana, Don developed a solid work ethic, knowing the value of hard work would pay off throughout his career.
People wouldn't think. They thought he put that suit on when I turned playing, but it wasn't like that. He worked. He worked with his coach at high school.
My high school coach, Quentin Merkel, he was one of the biggest influence, if not the biggest influence on work ethic for me.
We got our first batting cage, and we hung it up in a gym with clothes hangers and things of that nature. And he got some baseballs, and he'd get 4 or 5 players, and they'd go over and hit 2 or 3 hours before our practice.
I'd go down there during lunch and stuff. I'd just eat real fast. I'd try to get to the cafeteria real quick and grab something to eat and go down the cage for like 40 minutes and hit.
Whatever you taught him, you didn't have to teach it over and over again or drum it into him. You know, he absorbed things.
He always talked to us about getting better. If you're the best player on this team, then you need to be the best player in the area. If you're the best player in the area, then you need to be the best player in the state. And if you think you're the best player in the state, then you need to be the best player in the country. That really helped me minor league-wise, fighting for jobs. You just keep getting better.
Coming up next.
Hey, did he get all of it? Holy cow, he did it! The hit man once again comes through.
Welcome back to Yankeeography. As the Yankees entered the 1987 season, Don Mattingly was the toast of the town. In just 3 full years, he'd established himself as an incredibly consistent 300-plus hitter and a 30-home run man, a rare breed in Major League Baseball. There was every reason to believe there was so much more greatness still to come. Then, while taking routine infield practice on a sunny day in June, Mattingly felt a twinge in his back. It was a portent of things to come.
Diagnosed with a disc problem, Don Mattingly was placed on the disabled list for the first time in his career. But he quickly showed fans a glimpse of his resolve. 6 weeks after the injury, he went on an historic home run tear.
Strokes this one high and deep. Say goodbye, home run.
It was so easy, it seemed like, during that little stretch there. And I started hitting the ball hard every day.
He was just hitting bombs everywhere, pulling balls out. He was hitting balls the other way, and it was pretty fun. And I'd hit a home run or something. He'd come in, he said, "That's nothing, watch this."
Right field, team say goodbye.
He hit one off Charlie Huff, crushed it down the line. I thought, oh man, this is pretty weird. You know, all of a sudden 5 in a row, and it kind of continued from there. You know, it got hot in Texas.
Against the Rangers, he had a chance to tie a record that stood for more than 30 years, hitting a home run in 8 consecutive games.
Did he get all of it? Did he? Holy cow, he did it!
He also set a major league record by hitting 10 home runs in the same span.
You were mesmerized by it. We all looked at each other in the press box and we said, this guy's unbelievable. And that whole stretch, you would just keep looking at people and go, this guy's unbelievable.
Here it is, 0-0, and a bases-loaded threat. Here it goes. Long drive and a grand slam. Upper deck for Mattingly.
But Mattingly's run at history was far from over.
Grand slam time for Don Mattingly.
His 6 grand slams were also a record and an oddity.
Hit 6 in a year, that's kind of weird. Never hit one before, never hit one after. So it was just that year for me. Something in the cards and in the wind or whatever.
Mattingly found personal success in '87, but the Yankees could only find 4th place. They finished the '80s with more wins than any other team, but without a single world championship to show for it. It was the first decade in 60 years that they failed to win a World Series.
I just assumed we were going to get to the playoffs and we were going to win. Felt like good things were going to happen to us. We always had good players, had an opportunity to win every year, and just didn't get it done.
As the team entered the 1990 campaign, the American League pennant continued to be out of reach, but Mattingly had other concerns.
The constant pounding of the rotational forces of swinging the bat were causing him to have pressure on nerves. And his disc tissue was not quite as strong and was slipping and coming into regions that were tough for him to handle. It caused his problems.
It got to be more of an ache, a dull, deep ache. You know it all day long. You never just wake up and get out of bed and go, oh man, I'm feeling good today. It was more like, okay, I have to get in the tub and do all this stuff just to be able to play,
The thing with Donnie is, he wanted to play every day, whether he was hurting or not. But obviously, there were times when we just shut him down.
In late July, his sore back again put him on the disabled list. He would miss a career-high 60 games.
It's probably my lowest point in New York. It's really the first time that I was disconnected from the team. You're off somewhere trying to get stronger and trying to get healthy, and the team's just kind of going on, And that was probably my lowest point.
Mattingly hit just 5 home runs in 1990 and batted a career-low .256. The Yankees came in last place, losing 95 games. Over the next 2 seasons, New York finished 20 games below 500. A gutsy Mattingly was a regular in the lineup, facing not only the adversity of losing, but also a nagging injury that would cloud his once radiant future.
He wasn't able to drive the ball into the seats anymore. If you don't have everything going together, like a smooth running engine, it runs rough and you don't get results and performance goes down.
And he's got to be very frustrated. I don't know how many times that he's left that runner at third. And there's a guy that takes a lot of pride in getting that runner in.
It's a struggle not to have the success that you had before. It is frustrating to know that it's there, or that you know how to do it and you know what you're doing, but you just having trouble bringing it out again.
Oh boy, and that was not his best swing right there.
No, that was not the swing he's going to take to the Hall of Fame.
I was more afraid after that. It seemed like after the 87 I came back, I was just like, Superman, can't slow me down. I ain't worried about it. Just still young and dumb. So I thought, I'd just get back to where I was. I didn't realize that it was kind of more of it was going to hamper me, from then on, really.
By the early 90s, the one they called the Hitman had been robbed of his power by a chronic bad back. But no injury could take away his grit and determination.
He never gave up. He was early there for treatment. He'd do everything that he needed to do to make sure that he was out there every day playing.
To me, that's all you try to do as a player. You try to get the most out of yourself and the most out of your ability. And I'm just trying to take the talent that I was given and utilize it and try to increase it and make it better and better all the time.
He was special. That's the best word you can use for Mattingly, because in all phases of what he meant to me and to the Yankees, he was just special.
He was so special that in 1991 he joined a unique lineage when he was named the 10th Yankee captain in team history. It's an honor he held the rest of his career, and one that would influence the future of the Yankees.
Donnie's presence in our clubhouse was almost indescribable. He was huge.
Donnie treated me like I'd been on the team forever. This guy's one of the greatest first basemen to ever play the game, and you got a little rookie coming in here, and he's treating me like, I belong here.
You had so much respect for him, just the way he ran out to his position and got ready. And he knew the game too, because he played it right.
The way to be professional about, playing hard every day, the way to conduct yourself off the field. Donnie represents to me the way baseball should be played.
Mattingly embodied a pinstripe pride that captured the essence of the game. He wasn't just a player. He wasn't just a Yankee. He was Donnie Baseball.
They're chanting Donnie Baseball here at Yankee Stadium.
Up there in the upper deck behind home plate of Yankee Stadium was where the term Donnie Baseball became. It's him. It's Donnie Baseball. It's like Teddy Ballgame of the Red Sox. There was never a more perfect nickname because he was about baseball.
He loved all aspects of the game. If the team was in spring training and having practice and they were done, he wanted more. Just 30 more balls, Let me just field 30 more balls.
He just looked so right out there in the uniform and dirty with the eye black on and making a diving catch. He just looked so natural doing it.
That's why he is a first baseman.
He was such a likable person that around the league, I never heard a bad thing said about Donnie.
I don't know anyone in the game that didn't respect him. When he stepped in the batting cage during batting practice, you would see every team in the league stop and watch Donnie hit. And it was something to marvel at.
And marvel at him they did, especially in Yankee Stadium.
They want Mattingly to take a bow, and here he comes.
He might be the most revered athlete in New York history. He was the one shining light in a dark tunnel.
The Yankees pretty much out of this race, but Don Mattingly would never let you know that. Take a look at the effort by the first baseman as he goes.
People loved him. There was just something about him. He was one of us. He was everybody. I think a lot of people thought, you know, I could have been like Don Mattingly.
You can't fool New Yorkers. I mean, they know players, they know gamers, they know guys who come to play every day. They know guys who leave their heart and soul on the field, and Donnie did that. Even when he didn't do so well, they knew he was out there busting his gut, trying to do his best for the team.
Bad imitations do not fly in New York because I've seen it all. So you come in and talking trash and trying to trick them, it ain't working. So you just gotta, to me, I call it just bring it, man.
Base hit, and the Yankees win it 5-4. Base hit by Mattingly.
All I wanted people to look at was the game. You know, I didn't want them to see me in a commercial. I didn't want to see me doing this or that or the other. When you think of me on the field.
The name says it all. Donnie Baseball. Coming up.
He almost looked like a tortured genius. You know, he had this unbelievable talent, but he was never going to reach the promised land.
Welcome back to Yankeeography. By 1994, Mattingly's perseverance had paid off. The rebuilt Yankees were contenders once again. And they were driving straight toward the postseason.
We started to get to be a good team again, and it started to be a force, so we went into towns and we thought we were going to win.
Drive deep to right. That ball is gone. Mattingly, a 3-run pinch hit home run.
You can't experience that top part of the game without going through the lows. And when we started to get to be a good team again, you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that was fun.
You just wanted him to be in the playoffs just once. They just never got over the hump. Something always happened.
So what could happen to the AL's hottest team? A September work stoppage and the cancellation of the World Series for the first time in 90 years.
I don't know, some things are hard in life. And that was one of those things that was tough, and I felt like, you know, it sucks. You know, we had a good team.
Every single bad thing, the terrible seasons, and here it is. Here's his chance. Don Mattingly's going to finally make it to the postseason, and it was all yanked away. He almost looked like a tortured genius. You know, he had this unbelievable talent, but he was never going to reach the promised land.
You know, we did have a great shot at getting in last year, and I just feel bad for Donnie. I think this year the focus is going to be that again, to try to get in the postseason, and if not for anybody else, but for him.
So in '95, the captain and his team were back and hungry.
Everybody knew that Don Mattingly didn't have a lot of time left with the back. It was getting worse and worse.
We would talk a lot about cutting his work down in the cages, getting his batting practice, getting his skill work down, cut the ground balls down a little bit, try to keep him effective and healthy for the 4 or 5 at-bats he would have every night.
Coming in, doing his back stretches and stuff like that, his back was giving it. You could tell that, you know, that he wasn't able to swing the bat the way that he wanted to during the course of the season.
In early August, Donnie Baseball taught himself a new trick at the plate, and it worked.
Last 2 months, I kind of started hitting with a leg kick, and I found a place that I could generate power from again.
Way back, goodbye.
It's probably one of my only regrets. I wish I'd have found that leg kick like 2 years earlier, because I think I really could have generated power with that. I was able to kind of get back to myself because I could feel all the things fall back into place when I'm using the leg kick.
Well, the people are on their feet every time this guy walks out of the dugout.
They figure this is the last Yankee home game of the year.
That means this might be his last at-bat ever in the Yankee uniform.
If they do not get into the playoffs, it could be. Fly ball into deep right center field. This is well hit.
Oh, that's what they came here for.
Mattingly carried the Yankees down the stretch, and his hope of making the playoffs would require one more win in the last game of the regular season.
We've played great baseball down the stretch, and we've given ourselves an opportunity to control our own destiny today.
Mattingly rips one down the line and gone! A home run for Don Mattingly in the game that could send him to the first postseason of his 12-year career.
After 1,785 regular season games, the moment had arrived. Don Mattingly's playoff dreams were about to come true.
Bandinor hits it to Fernandez. He goes to second, and the New York Yankees have won the 1995 first ever wild card.
Don Mattingly finally going to the postseason, and he was the man everybody sought out to hug after this one was over.
It was a silent torch that everybody on our club carried, and I wore it on my sleeve. I didn't mind anybody knowing that. I never had to bring it up a lot to our players because they all understood it, and just such a respect for Donnie.
Everyone was happy for him because playing your entire career, being a Yankee legend, never playing in the postseason, and finally getting there. And you realize that, this doesn't happen every year.
I remember him coming up to me and grabbing me and telling me how lucky I was, and I better not forget it, that he's played for 13, I think, or 14 years at that time and hadn't been able to make it in my first year. Kind of yelling at me, it ain't fair. Your first year, you make it.
That moment on the last day clinched the wild card. He knelt down to the turf and did the pumping of the fist. That was special. I remember that today. I was so happy for him.
I remember I asked him after the game, and he just said that was for that long journey, that it was finally over and he got there.
I tried to have faith, and over the years, I know I've said it over the years, I feel like I was going to get there. I always felt that way. And never give up that feeling, never give up that hope. And, it happens today, it's great.
I'd heard so much stuff, played the most games without getting in the postseason, all that kind of stuff. It kind of puts a mark on you like you're the reason that they're not getting the postseason. So to get there was a good feeling, to get that little monkey off my back.
In October of 1995, Yankee Stadium was the site of a playoff game for the first time in Don Mattingly's career.
I feel new to postseason, but I know it's just a game, and it's going to be baseball. The guy's going to be 60 feet, 6 inches. I got to try to get the ball in the strike zone and just be ready to go.
That first game in '95, when Don Mattingly came out, there was such a feeling in that park. You could see people with tears in their eyes. I have never felt emotion in that stadium like that day.
When Don Mattingly was introduced on the first base line before that game was the most thrilling moment in sports that I have ever been involved in.
At first base, number 23, Don Mattingly.
You could feel the hair rise on your arms and on the back of your neck, and you really got goosebumps because the stadium just had an outpouring of love. I've never heard anything that loud.
That was probably the best feeling I ever had coming onto the field. I cannot explain it, how much energy that gives you as a player.
They've waited 13 years for Don Mattingly to get this ovation.
All the love that the fans had for him for all those years, and they said, here, you finally have your stage, and we're happy for you.
Mattingly, base hit right field. Jay Buhner giving chase. Yankees take the lead. Ernie Williams scores on a Don Mattingly single.
Mattingly delivered big with 2 RBIs in a Game 1 victory, but he would save his biggest drama for the 6th inning of Game 2.
Don Mattingly. The fans want a dinger out of him.
I was just swinging good at the time. I knew how they wanted to pitch me, and I knew how to attack it.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
Oh man, there's some juice flying. The playoffs are just a whole different game.
His first postseason, he's waiting his whole career, obviously, and then to produce like that. I got the chills. I've never heard an ovation like that from anyone. The fans went crazy. Started throwing hats on the field, and and it was something special.
Up 2-0, the Yankees headed to Seattle looking to sweep the best-of-5 series. But the Mariners would win the next 2, forcing a deciding 5th game. Tied in the 6th with 2 outs, Donnie Baseball would come through once again.
Slaps one into left field, down into that corner. It's fair. The Yankees will score. It's a ground rule double. Don Mattingly's ground rule double scores Williams and O'Neill, and the Yankees jump up 4-2.
I was thinking we got a lead and we're going in the right direction here. I'm thinking we're going to win this game.
Another Seattle comeback would send the game into extra innings. The Yankees would score the go-ahead run in the top of the 11th. But in the bottom of the inning, the season came to a devastating end.
Losing in that fashion, it's really very frustrating. But I found some peace in his eyes. You know, he had a great series, and even though he was disappointed, he did the best he could.
In 5 career postseason games, he batted .417.
I think deep down he knew he was retiring. He didn't really say or come out and say at that point, but I think deep down he knew. And by going to that playoff and hitting as well as he did, he knew that he was able to play on that stage too.
You know, I wanted to see how I was going to react in that situation. To get in there, pick that level up, was like, you know, a great feeling. And plus, you know, we had a good shot. I've been a nice little ride on that white horse on the way out, so just didn't get it.
I remember that long plane ride back from Seattle. I was on that plane, and Donnie's sitting and talking to everybody.
We had a little conversation. You know, he said, people are going to expect that from you every year, and you have to raise the bar higher. And I was just listening to him. Even though I was sad, I was like, wow, man, this guy's, you know, he's truly the captain of the team.
Donnie was saying goodbye to everybody. People were crying. It was heart-wrenching. It was just heart-wrenching.
I mean, I knew what was going on, you know. I knew I probably wasn't coming back, you know. So just want to say bye.
As the Yankees entered the 1996 season, their sights were set on a championship, but a familiar face was absent. 14 seasons had taken a toll on Don Mattingly, and in a step towards retirement, he announced that he would be taking a year off.
I knew physically I could keep doing it, but I was having more and more trouble being away from home, more than anything, being away from the kids. I wanted to be around. I was starting to feel like even when we were playing at home, I was on the road. And I knew at that point that I needed to get out.
In a much-anticipated move, the Yankees traded for Tino Martinez, whose Mariners had knocked Mattingly out of the playoffs the year before.
We were waiting to find out what he wanted to do first before we wanted to act. He basically gave us the blessing, go ahead and go forward with whatever you want to do, and we chose to trade for Tino.
They brought in a perfect person. Tino came in and just did that so well, so quick. He actually bought Donnie's house, so it was just an easy transition to come in and play with the Yankees.
With Tino at first, the Yankees went on to win 92 games and the American League pennant. In October, New York made its first World Series appearance since 1981, the year before Mattingly joined the club. In Game 6, they won the organization's 23rd World Championship.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
It was a proud and glorious moment for the Yankees, but one they had to share without their captain.
It just, you know, it didn't seem right doing it without him. You know, nothing really seemed, you know, normal actually in 1996 without Don Mattingly.
It was hard. It was hard to watch. You're going, man, I could have been there if I'd have played. You know what I mean? It was just tough.
It was sort of like a mixed feeling. You know, we wanted Cap to be there, you know, to enjoy the time because we know that he was, certainly part of the team.
You're happy for the guys that you play with and stuff, and knowing that you're part of that reaching, that light at the end of the tunnel. I just didn't get a chance to get to that final light. It got to pretty bright where it was getting close, but I just didn't get to that last little rung,
I don't believe that there is any player that I have ever had on the New York Yankees since I have been here as great as Don Mattingly in every way.
On January 22nd, 1997, the 36-year-old Mattingly officially retired from baseball. At the Yankees' home opener in April, he helped raise the championship flag that eluded him.
He had put so much effort both on the field and in that clubhouse and kind of setting this thing up and pointing us in the right direction. So I think, Donnie was a part of that championship. There's no question he was.
The things that we took into that year were a big part of what he gave to the team and that gave to the people he played with. And that's the mark of a really true professional to me.
Later that summer, a sold-out crowd filled the stadium to celebrate Don Mattingly Day. His number 23 became the 14th Yankee jersey to be retired, and his plaque was revealed in Monument Park alongside the other Yankee legends.
And that plaque in center field means more to me than you'll ever know.
It's hard for me to imagine something like that. Just felt kind of, embarrassed, I think. I looked at those guys as such heroes, Mickey and Joe D and Gehrig and Ruth. It's like, you don't feel like you fit in that category,
It was Labor Day, an appropriate afternoon to celebrate the man who personified the heart and soul of the Yankees. A six-time All-Star, yes, but awards and numbers cannot capture Mattingly's impact on the franchise and the city.
He was considered too short, not big enough or strong enough to do all these great things, but it was just the way he played. He played bigger than he was, and that's his whole career.
I don't think people expected him to become what he did, and he just did it in such a quiet, classy way, and he was so humble that a lot of people gravitated to him.
He's everything that you want your son to be, your brother to be, everybody. He just stood for everything that I think that we've always thought baseball should be.
He was a great warrior. You always felt like you had this warrior behind you no matter what. At the end of every season, Donnie put his stuff in his locker, and we were disappointed that we didn't win, but we weren't disappointed in the way that we fought.
Since his retirement, the Yankees have added even more World Series crowns, while Mattingly has retreated back home to Indiana, where he tends to his family and his horse farm.
People talk about, you should have played a few more years, you'd have got World Series rings. You never know you're going to get that. You follow your heart, and you did the things for the reasons that are important to you, and that makes it easy every time I think about something like that.
I'm taking the other one too, Dad.
Hi, buddy.
Would I look back at this point and say, I wish I would have got one as a player? Yeah, I wish I would have got one, but I still made the decision I make, no doubt about it. So I feel good about that.
Clearly, Mattingly fully enjoyed his life after baseball. But the lure of the Yankees was always there. It's what so often brought him to Tampa in the spring. And it's what finally led him to accept the job after the 2003 season of hitting coach.
I'm very grateful to Kim and the boys for allowing me this opportunity to do it. Being able to be in spring training the last few years with Joe and his entire staff has been unbelievable, and again, it's another opportunity for me to be able to learn from these guys and to be a part of it. I'm also very grateful for that.
All these players that he's going to coach now know who Don Mattingly is. They know how he played in the Yankee uniform.
And now, back in that uniform, he might just get the ring that so eluded him during his playing days.
After earning praise from all quarters as a bright and hard-working hitting coach, Don Mattingly received an even greater honor in 2007 when he was selected by Joe Torre to be his bench coach. It is no doubt simply another step along the way for one of the most beloved Yankees of all time. The debate still rages over whether or not Donnie Baseball should be in the Hall of Fame. But there's no debate that he forever shall be an integral part of the Yankees family. For the Yes Network, I'm John Sterling, and thanks for watching Yankeeography.
The proceeding has been an exclusive presentation of the Yes Network.